Good evening. This is the Policy Committee. Today is March 2nd, 2026. Present with me is Vice Chair Member Kelly and Member Dr. Molnar, and we comprise the Policy Committee. We will begin with the Policy Committee with the approval of the previous minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second by Ms. Kelly. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
The ayes have it. We will call if we have anyone signed up for public participation. No public participation. And we will move down our agenda. We have in Section 3 a few policies for updates, and I'll begin with public records policy, and that is 3.01. And we will have Attorney Sapusik just give us an update on the new structure of or the new leads on that policy.
Thank you, Member Chair. Originally, the administrative lead had been Treasurer Bowers on the public records policy updates, but at this time, because he is focused with the budget discussions and the budget adjustments and the financial forecasts, that myself, so you and I will be working together the next couple of weeks on the public records policy.
Thank you, Attorney Sapusik. And so the anticipated update for review of that policy will be at the April 6th meeting.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you. And as we begin to review the public records policy, we will make every attempt to also have administrative guidelines, but as Attorney Sapusik has indicated, he and I will work on that policy through this next month with an update at the April 6th meeting. Our next policy, 3.02, 3.02, the independent contractor policy, and I will ask Member Molnar for an update.
Thank you, Chair Harrison. Director Folk and I worked on 3 policies over the last month. 2 of the policies, 6460 and this, which is, I'm going to try to save time because I took so much time in the last meeting, which is in item 3.06, and this policy, 3.02, which is in 6460-01, are 2 policies that administration is still working on the administrative guidelines for, and so administration plans to bring, correct me if I'm wrong, it plans to bring the administrative guidelines and proposed policy revisions for these to the April 6th meeting. We'll continue to work through them together and should have something ready to send to rules by the April 6th meeting.
Okay, I appreciate that, Dr. Molnar. And for those particular policies, you're indicating that we should have something and discuss and prepare to send to the Rules Committee at the April 6th meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. And I would just simply ask that we would communicate as we would finalize these policies, that we will have them online and communicate with the committee members, keeping in mind that the communications will be not all of the communications, of course, but the update should include the transparency of how we got to where we are.
Yes. Member Harrison, would you like us to have it in board docs prior to the April 6th meeting? Would you like to give us a deadline to have those ready for you in board docs?
As the policy is stating with the agenda to be posted 7 days before, the information should be in board docs at least 7 days before.
We will work towards that goal.
Thank you, Dr. Molnar. Our next update will come from our Director of Human Resources, Mr. Chase Canfield, for the administrative leave policy, which is a new policy.
Good evening, committee members. As stated, we've been tasked with a partnership with the committee for drafting policy language and governance around administrative leave for the board and district, item 3.03. To date, we've received valuable input from the committee members. I thank you for that, and I believe we're close to resolution. Admittedly, for me, the Google Docs and the commentary was somewhat overwhelming, so I'd respectfully ask the committee members if we could have a virtual meeting to kind of discuss some of those minimal edits that we kind of had in there. Then I'd also like to move, because I think we're very close, and I think we can move this to Attorney Sapusik for final legal review after that meeting. But I have no doubt that we'll be well positioned for the final review at the April 6th committee meeting to move on to rules and then eventually board. You've suggested that through the commentary earlier about posing the administrative guidelines is with it, so we'll work towards that during this next couple weeks, and then have those documents loaded up in board docs 7 days before.
Thank you, Mr. Canfield. Can we discuss this policy? I want to make sure that we are being as transparent, and I understand we can't. We're still nailing down a lot of things.
Yeah.
But this is a new policy, and so can you give us some idea of the need for this policy and how this policy affects what you do in not only protecting the district, but we also want to make sure that we are fair to our employees and protecting their rights under their collective bargaining units.
Yeah, that is correct. The administrative leave policy, as it states in the beginning of this policy, is non-disciplinary temporary employment action used to protect students, staff, and the integrity of the district operations and the integrity of investigations while ensuring employee due process. So this is important to state that when we provide or we request that someone be put on administrative leave and we put them on administrative leave, they understand that this is for their protection as well. My understanding from what I've seen so far is that we have not had consistent guidelines around when we do this and how we do this. So this is an attempt to bring us all together and formulate a plan when this action has to be put in place.
Any questions from the committee members? So I would pose a couple of questions.
Sure.
And I'll give you opportunity to answer, or maybe Attorney Sapusik, and if we don't know the answer, we don't know the answer right now. How does administrative leave impact collective bargaining? Well, I'll let you go there. Is administrative leave management rights, is it identified in any of our collective bargaining agreements?
To be honest with you, I don't know that it's identified in our collective bargaining agreements. I'll defer to Attorney Sapusik if he would happen to know.
I was not involved in our negotiations of those 8 or 9 union agreements, so I will be happy to go back and review those, which have just been ratified, and confirm in which agreements that language addressed.
Okay, thank you. And if you can just expand a little more on how does this protect, and we've discussed this, but I just want to make this known for our general public, because there becomes a misunderstanding if administrative leave is punitive, and we certainly as a district do not want to use this in a punitive fashion. But if you can just talk a little bit about and you did cover it, but if you can go just a little deeper into the fact that this is not punitive.
Yeah, I will attempt to go a little deeper than that. But yes, this is really about, like I said, protecting Anyone who there are allegations against, making sure they have due process rights in an investigation. It is not disciplinary, it's to take them out of the fold so we can conduct a proper impartial investigation and ensure that we're focusing on everyone's rights, including the due process of anyone allegations have been brought against.
And if you're on administrative leave, your pay continues?
Your pay continues, and also leave accruals continue as well. Pay and benefits remain the same.
So if I'm understanding this right, this is just a tool to protect everyone until we can come to a fact-based conclusion or find out how to proceed.
That is correct.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from any committee member? Dr. Molnar?
Thank you. I was able to review, and I completely understand your comment about the track changes. I got a little lost myself, but that's a group project for you.
It was easier in Microsoft. In fact, I found out today that we can actually download it into Microsoft and have all the comments there and track changes. But
yes, there are always opportunities for us to do things better. And this is not going to be our last policy, so I'm willing to try something new. But I wasn't able to see in this the draft administrative guidelines for this policy. Were those in here? Or
they were not.
Are they going to be at the April?
So we're going to work towards creating administrative guidelines for this policy. The way I've always handled policy before, until we have a final agreed upon policy, then we concoct the administrative guidelines around it. That was my understanding, but I'm understanding today that you like to have them in partnership with the policy. Therefore, we will move to that.
Yes, it's helpful as the board is trying to see between policy and the guidelines what needs to be where. So I appreciate that. So if those could be included in here or ready for the April meeting, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for that update, Mr. Canfield. And
thank you.
Let's try the Microsoft. I think I'm a little more proficient in Microsoft.
Same here. I'm going to work on that. Right. Thank you.
Our next policy, Dr. Molnar is in the lead on this particular policy, and it is policy 6325, our procurement, federal grants, and funds policy. Oh, digital content, I'm sorry. 3.04, our digital content and accessibility policy, which is a Neola update, policy 7540.02.
He's got a presentation.
Good evening, honorable board members, Dr. Lash, Mr. Sapusik. I'm here tonight to give a high-level overview of Board Policy 7540.02.
I'm sorry, I don't
Yes, sir.
Can you give us your name?
Sure. My name is Nathan Ruyan. I'm the Director of Technology Services. So once again, here to cover Board Policy revision to 7540.02, digital content and accessibility. So why does Board Policy 7540.02 need to be revised? Well, the Department of Justice created a new civil rights rule called Web Content Accessibility Guidelines version 2.1 level AA. And so in short, we're all calling it WCAG 2.1. And this is a civil rights mandate that can be compared or is similar to having a wheelchair ramp. So the same reason why we need to support a person that needs a wheelchair ramp is the same reason why we need to create online digital content that is accessible by all. So the deadline for our organization to comply is April 24, 2026. So there are 4 core principles that make up WCAG 2.1. Is the digital content perceivable? Can users hear it and see it? And a great example of this is if I am a visually impaired person and I hover over a graphic on your website, am I told what that graphic is? So images have to have a text description for screen readers. This is the technical word is alt text. Second core principle is operable. So can users actually use the controls? So for example, a person with a motor impairment needs to be able to navigate the entire menu using only tab and enter. Is the content understandable? Does it make sense? Is it consistent across pages? So that means, is the menu consistent throughout your entire website? And then, is the content robust? So is it able to be interpreted by assistive technologies such as JAWS? JAWS is used by visually impaired people to actually utilize a keyboard, a Braille keyboard, and manipulate a website. There are 5 impact zones for Akron Public Schools. All of our public-facing content, such as our school website, our district website, documents hosted online on our intranet, and all multimedia must be compliant. Our student information system, our learning management system, digital curriculum, systems and assessments must all be compliant. Parent and family communication, social media, and mobile apps must be WCAG 2.1 compliant. And what is exempt? So archived content. So all of our archived content that we no longer use and no longer plan to share with the public is exempt. Pre-existing social media, so comments that have been made prior to April 24 are exempt. Password protected documents. So if I would send you a document between myself and another person, then that would be exempt. However, just because you have to enter a password to authenticate into something doesn't necessarily mean it's exempt. So for example, you have to authenticate to get into our Home Access Center, but Home Access Center is not exempt. And comments posted by the community on any of our social media or website are exempt because we simply did not create that content. So our website, as I mentioned, has to be compliant, and one of the interesting things we've learned is that our board live streams may not be fully compliant by the way YouTube handles closed captioning. So YouTube does offer closed captioning, however, it does not capture ancillary sounds. So how many of you have watched a movie with closed captioning where it says glass breaking, person laughing, person cheering? YouTube does not support that. So we may need to investigate a solution where closed captioning does fully comply. Anybody have any questions about that?
Any committee members with questions? Dr. Molnar?
So, to clarify, and I'm sorry if you said this, so the content in classrooms, does that need to be compliant?
It does.
And
So-
yeah.
That's correct. So,
How do we get to that?
well, just to clarify, in the packet you received, the first page is our compliance roadmap plan. So you will see step by step of what we're hoping to execute. And I think it's the third bullet point is where we're going to be providing professional development to all teachers and staff. And the main challenge we need to address with Google Classrooms is PDF files cannot be scanned as an image because a voice assist program can't read it. So we have to teach the staff to scan as a PDF, which can then be interpreted by assistive tech. So that would be number one. Number two will be the alt text I mentioned, where if I have pictures on a handout, we need to make sure that it's alt text capable. The good news is there are a bunch of AI apps that will do that for us and really make the process pretty seamless for all stakeholders.
Anything else?
The other documents in the packet is the draft Neola policy, as well as a cleaned up version that makes it a little easier to read. And it is just an example. We have about 4 options that need to be decided in the policy. But all in all, that's what's in the packet.
Go ahead. Dr. Muller.
Thanks. I'm reading through this for the first time. Are we planning to, or should the board be prepared to make any purchases of anything to assist in accomplishing this work?
So that's a great question. At this time, I don't believe so. The main challenge is going to be with the closed captioning of the board meetings and the committee meetings. So that will be a cost, but we're unsure of exactly what that will look like. Our broadcast communication team is evaluating different vendors and soliciting quotes. The consequence of the closed captioning service is that it's not done for a couple days after the meeting. So it would not be posted almost in real time like we have now. So we're continuing to investigate what are the best solution to get it up as quickly as possible.
So the meeting will be posted in real time, but the compliance part will not.
Correct.
It'll take 2 or 3 days.
Correct.
Okay. Now, what is the time frame you're looking to have this through the committee to the Rules Committee and for a full vote?
Member Harrison, so Nathan and I are working together on this policy, and we do have a date scheduled for March 9th. We're going to meet before the general board meeting to discuss this policy and probably gather some data also so that it's specifically crafted to the needs of the students and faculty that this policy supports. So there was a question regarding if there would be additional technology or any purchases that will have to be made. When I read through it, that wasn't a question that I thought. I think first, if we draft out the policy, go through it before it's brought to the board, and then explore if there are additional things that we need to support this policy.
Okay.
Also, again, this policy just doesn't support our students and parents. It supports our staff members and this district. So this policy, I personally want us to pass it, but I want us to take our time so that way we don't miss the opportunity to make this a policy that can be used as an example for neighboring school districts. I think one of my questions also is if when we meet on March 9th, if there can be data provided for us that does show the percentage of this district that this policy does protect. So that way we can, if there are additional costs or things that have to be purchased, that will prepare us to be able to say or justify why we would need this, I guess, advanced technology to support the updates in the policy.
So, if I may, let us make sure that we clearly communicate through email what it is that we're asking for the 9th, the topics that we discuss over the 9th, for the meeting for the 9th, but then we document that, and so that will be in the next report out. So the questions and the answer will be in the next report out of the committee meeting. And this is scheduled, you would like this to come through this committee. You're looking for a vote prior to April 24th, correct?
Correct. That is the target date.
Okay.
April 24th.
And if you can have for us a estimated cost of a different platform that we would need to go to be compliant.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Our next policy is 3.05, 3.05, policy 6325, procurement and federal grants policy, and Dr. Molnar is the lead on that. Dr. Molnar?
Thank you, Chair. A little bit of background and reminders on this policy, 6325. This is a policy that was brought to this committee last year, and then there was a Neola update, and then we realized there was actually another Neola update, and then we brought it back to this committee. So what we did for the last month, since you assigned Director Folk and I to this policy, was try to combine both all of the Neola updates and also the comments and desires of the board. And we also have received the administrative guidelines. And the administrative guidelines were critical because it was an opportunity to see where policy language might need to be inserted, because there were things that I think that last year's committee thought were in the guidelines and they didn't need to be in policy. And then when they weren't in the guidelines, it became clear we should add this to policy. And so what you will see via the click share here is 4 different types of text. I'm going to start with the plain text, which is what you will see. It is just the black and white text. The black and white text is the original text from the current policy. You will also see on here if there are strike-throughs. The strike-throughs on this are the Neola recommended changes to this to remove text from the original current policy. The green on here is the recommendations from administration that support Neola and administration on this policy. So the green sections are added by administration. Then what is highlighted in yellow are the items that were added via board comments. And so some high-level information about what this policy does, what this policy did, and what this policy could do. Is this policy outlines how we buy things with federal money. In short, how we pay, what we use federal money to pay for. And so a lot of conversations that our board has had about RFQs, RFPs, contracts, rubrics, and things like that. That type of language has been inserted, you see here in yellow at the top. The overarching goal is that procurement of all supplies shall be conducted in a fair, competitive, and transparent manner. So the district will utilize a structured selection review and contract award process designed to ensure open competition, responsible stewardship of public resources, and public confidence in the integrity of its purchasing decisions. Because of the work that we've done, some things that could be very different about this policy versus what was not in this policy before are the evaluation criteria and publicly posting the evaluation criteria with the request for the proposal. And finally, the last recommendation in here is the procurement reporting and the records retention. Those are all new updates and additions to expand this policy. Now, I did get a message that legal might not have had time to fully review the policy to let us know if there's anything that we should watch out for. And so from this, I think the board really has 2 options tonight. because the policy generally from step 1 to step 2 would have been to go, the original plan was to go to rules on March 16, to then be passed by the full board, or presented to the full board, I'm sorry, on 3/23 was the original plan. And so the committee, I believe, at this point has 2 options. The first would be to see a clean copy of this and wait until April, or to send this to rules with the caveat that if administration notices anything, that they can communicate that to us ahead of the 3/16 Rules Committee.
Thank you, Dr. Molnar. And I would say that we need to have eyes on the policy, and we need to see a clean copy of the policy, and it needs to be vetted before we go to rules. And that would be the preference of the chair. And this is a moment to really clean up some of the, or some housekeeping for the committee. With this policy, with the administrative leave policy, there was a lot of activity from Thursday until this morning. And I know Dr. Molnar and Director Folk have been very communicative over the last month. But we have not been information-based over the last month. So these policies that have been uploaded or have been sent to the board, we've received this information last week. And we have 24 meetings, 24 board meetings a year. We have 12 committee meetings, and that would be 36 meetings. It is imperative that the committee members get the information when we discuss getting the information. We cannot go a week before the meeting and then complete the information or move the information along. We have to have the information prior to, it should be in board docs 7 days before. And when we post the agendas, I would ask that we would try to have all of the information as we post the agenda. As the committee members, and I know there was some miscommunication, but most of this information was provided to the committee last Wednesday, Thursday, and some updates over the weekend. It is imperative that we're not only communicating, but that the administration is providing the information throughout the month to committee members. And I would ask that we would be mindful of that so that we can get through this information and pass the information on in a timely fashion. But certainly thank you for the communication. Thank you for the update. And with that, item 3.06, vendor relation, 3.06, 6460. Dr. Molnar, you have an update.
I gave that update with the 3.02, so 6460 will come with the April meeting.
And with administrative guidelines. Thank you.
Yes, so in April, we will have 6460, 646001, 6325. We will provide in board docs the Neola version, if it existed, for 6325, the edited version, the current version, and a clean copy of, if we passed it, this is what it would look like.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Molnar. We will move to our new business. If there's no other discussion in old business, we will move to our new business. Our new business, item 4.01, renewal of Hayes Asset Tracking Program. This item in and of itself was sent back to committee from the full board committee at the last meeting. And I just have a couple of quick comments on this particular policy. I have been in contact and communication with Director Folk on this particular policy, and I think this policy, or this ask for the renewal of this asset tracking program, should coincide with the new asset tracking policy that we have that was introduced on December 1st, 2025. So with this particular policy, I would ask that Business Affairs, the Treasurer's Office, IT, and Purchasing all come together to find out. I sent Director Folk an email, and if those departments can come together so that we can find the best fit in looking at the policies and some of the key features with that policy, I think we can make a better decision. And I see Director Folk here, understanding that, there is no problem with this particular vendor or the use of this vendor, but we just want to make sure that we have all of the components together. And so I would ask that those 4 entities come together, those 4 departments come together. If we can schedule a meeting so that we can make sure that we have everything we need. And if you have anything to offer, Director Folk.
Thank you, Chairman Harrison. As you and I communicated, you felt, because we were asking for a purchase of 1 year of this particular software maintenance program to move forward, we felt that not only would it be possible to move it forward, it sets us up to not only start with your asset equipment tracking inventory new policy, it also coincides with another 4 policies, because there's a total of 5 that would be impacted with Pastor Harrison's original ask in December, which General Counsel Sapusik and I are aware of, along with Mr. Ronian and his team as well. So that would be something that if we could proceed to make this purchase for the 1 year and allow us to integrate it, the current Hayes process does integrate well with Munis, which is our ERP program, which, as I explained to Pastor Harrison, this also is what is uploaded through EMIS to do in order to asset track the items that we are required to the state on an annual basis through our EMIS reporting that usually occurs in September after we close out the books. So this was just the ask to allow us to make this one purchase for an extension of 1 year while we realigned it all to move it forward to keep us moving in the right direction. The request that was held is a cost of $89,000. It is currently in the budget for this year to allow us to make this purchased because we want to have the time to truly evaluate the programs going forward and to work as a team to bring it in alignment with the new ask for it. The policy that came in December request that Pastor Harrison hoped we would have ready by April. So that was the request by Pastor Harrison, and that was his acknowledgement in the email to me last Thursday, if I remember. Thank you.
I think it was last Thursday. Is there an opportunity not to enter into a 12-month contract? And the challenge is not knowing the actual need. While $89,000 does not seem to be a lot, but the current asset tracking policy does not seem to have prevented us from.
I will advise you that we have already started looking at other asset tracking programs. I sat in one for an hour this morning. There were some other things that Mr. Ryan has brought on. I do not know with the amount of time that we could do this, if we would change the policies, Pastor Harrison, and on top of that, need to do all the training. These are extremely integral, large programs to implement and train the number of people, and I know you're very aware of impact in order to do something of this nature, to train the beginning staff and all the way through and still be able to meet our reporting requirements to do through EMIS. So that is just my statement at this time, but we are actively looking at other programs. And I don't know if these new programs, we haven't seen the cost cost yet. I don't know if they are equal to, less than, or to your point, more than what we have expended at this time.
Okay. And a couple things on that, I would say that the challenge is introducing a policy and not having a policy acted on. And so once a policy is introduced, and again, it was December 1st, and so now we are looking to the end of this contract, and again, we're at an emergency place, but we need to act on policies when they're introduced, because the asset tracking is something that we absolutely need as a district. But we need to make sure that the software that we're using and the personnel that is operating the software is capable of continuing to track our assets to make sure we know where they are. And if you can get back with us to find out if we can do something less than a year, that will give us an opportunity to at least sit down with the 4 entities that this will integrate or will be a part of this. I think well, let me ask you this. What is the danger of not approving this now?
If the actual maintenance contract ends at the end of March. So if we want to get together, we don't have another meeting of the policy committee until the 6th of April. So that would be meaning that we would not have the support for the current HAYS program that we use, which does asset track. We just need to make sure that it's integrated into the new proposed policy, because the December proposal was very extensive, and we wanted to make sure that it, as we read it, that it also was able to be integrated with the other 5 policies, including this one, is a total of 5 that were already on the books. It wasn't that the new policy wasn't a good suggestion. I'm just saying it affects 5 policy totals that we would need to go, one of which is 6325.
Thank you. The new policy was not a suggestion.
Yeah, well, I understand.
Okay.
No, I understand that.
So can we look at this and say, I will convene the committee in time for the March
23rd meeting?
March 16th rules meeting?
Rules.
16th.
Okay, so we have a rules meeting March 16th, and I will put it upon you and the administration as to how quick you want to move on this, that we convene and we have conversation, and then we will convene as a committee in time to move it to the Rules Committee March 16th. That will give us time to convene or to vote on it in the regular board meeting prior to the expiration.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I could, we ran over a little bit, and some of these I will ask that we will put on the next committee meeting, but I do want to cover one other item, and that is item 4.02, the process of receiving and reviewing Neola updates. Attorney Sapusi.
So every so often, as the district, as you know, the district works with Neola for its policy base. There are technically 10 categories. There's a 0000, and that's board bylaws, and then it runs up through the 9,000s. And so if you go on our website, Board Docs, Board of Education policies, you can access, members of the public can access that and look at those different categories. And that is how our policies are organized. And they'll cover different areas from transportation to procurement. We've had a lot of discussion tonight about student activities, staff activities, everything in our district, and has the board's bylaws as well in the 0000 category. Those are updated depending on if the state legislature enacts a bill that affects our policies, could trigger an update from Neola, or if there's a federal law change, as we talked about with Nathan and the ADA Title II tonight as well. So different things can trigger updates and potential updates to our policies. And then Neola will, again, once or twice a year, basically send out the updates to the school districts. Neola works with approximately 500 plus school districts in Ohio with the policy process. So once those updates come in, moving forward, we will circulate that to the chair. And then the leads on the administrative side also receive the policy updates. They dig in and look and see if it's applicable to their current operations or their staff or the status. Education side of the house does that as well. And then I'm going to bring next meeting, you and I touched briefly on this, kind of a rubric, if you will, as far as the categories. And then, we have committees now. We've expanded. We've added the Rules Committee. We have the Legal Contracts Committee as well. We have Instructional Policy and Finance. We've always had that. So we're going to create a rubric to kind of offer suggestions when these policies come in, which committee would be the lead, as far as their content area, and to start get those moving forward.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Sapusik. So a couple things that we discussed for transparency's sake is when the Neola policies come in, the board has the responsibility of reviewing or creating and making sure that our policies are sound. One of the things that my recent understanding is that sometimes when the Neola policies come in, that they are merged or some kind of way put into a we don't see them as they have come in. And so the ask is that nothing is altered in those original policies, in those recommendations from Neola. Neola gives us recommended updates. And so the board should, the committee should see the information as it has come in, without edits, without merging. We should see that, and then we can make a decision on how we best proceed forward. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Attorney
sorry.
Sapusik. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's my understanding, past practice, even prior to my arrival, that merging had taken place. So I certainly agree and understand, when these updates come in, that they will be forwarded in their, native format.
Yeah, thank you. And the other thing, for the sake of instructional policy, will deal with the policies that deal with instructional policy, but every policy will come to the policy committee, and from the policy committee, then we will, as a committee, send that policy to where it should go, so that one committee has a list of every update or every recommended update that comes in, and then the committee itself will distribute the policy to where it can be best addressed, whether it's instructional policy or the finance committee.
Okay.
And so we have a couple more items on the agenda, and I will ask that we will move those to the April 6th policy committee. And so under old business, we will have the issue management policy. Dr. Molnar has given the vendor relations and the independent contractors update for that. That will be under old business. We anticipate for the public to have a call meeting for the renewal of Hayes asset tracking. Under new business, I would like to review the nepotism policy. And under new business, we will review our security policy related to visitors in buildings. and administrative guidelines will go to old business. And that should complete our business for this committee. If we have nothing further, anything that you have to offer, Attorney Sapusik?
Not at this time.
Dr. Lash?
No.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second by Member Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.